The Magic Show is brought to you by StarCityGames.com, and check this out. On February 22nd through 24th, StarCityGames.com is proud to present Grand Prix Charlotte with $30,000 in cash prizes, a gold rush that is twice as big as before, a huge standard event on Sunday taking the winner on a free trip to GP Miami in June. This is the can't-miss Magic event of the year. Find out all the info and more at gpcharlotte.com. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of The Magic Show. This week, we're back, and we're talking about the StarCityGames.com Invitational, one of the best standard environments I've ever seen, along with some of my issues with the new trigger rules. Let's go. Now, first up, them triggers. Now, triggers are what happens when a card says at, or when, or whenever. These triggered abilities are put on the stack, have been put on said stack a variety of ways over the years, and honestly, new players don't really give them much credence, but the pros certainly do. The deep working innards of the Magic the Gathering rule set is not something that Nova's players often delve into, but in the maze of comprehensive rules, hundreds upon hundreds of pages detail exact explanations of every machination you can possibly think a Magic card can go through. There are definitions for everything. How games start, end, every mechanic ever, poison sub-games like Shahrazad, all of it. But one thing that has changed often for Magic rules is how triggers are handled. When you attack with an exalted creature, do you have to point it out? At one time, it was understood that the bonus was given and you didn't have to say anything to get it. These days, you must point it out or you don't get it. Let's throw out good old Shrine of Burning Rage. Back in the day, you used to have to keep up with your opponent's triggers. This meant that if they passed their upkeep without putting a counter on it, you'd have to stop them, put a counter on it, or you'd both get in trouble for not doing so correctly. These days, if they forget it, it's on them. No counter for you if you pass by the opportunity. But you want to get a little weirder? How about Dark Confidant? Now, back in the day, Dark Confidant's trigger was mandatory, and you would get a warning for missing it. 2 warnings and you got a game loss. That's 2 warnings of the same type during the same tournament. That meant if you messed up the Confidant trigger in round 1, and then later in the top 8, you would lose that top 8 game immediately, which did impact several high-profile tournaments back in the day. Now, these days, here's where it gets a little weird. Dark Confidant's trigger is seen as a beneficial trigger. Now, this is a special trigger that gets 2 stickers when it goes to the dentist, and also means if you forget it, your opponent has the choice of whether or not to put it on the stack. And here's the real kicker. If they do, or even if they don't, nothing bad happens to you. Things that used to give you 2 strikes and your game lost now do absolutely nothing. Note, forgetting triggers on purpose, like forgetting Dark Confidant's trigger when you're at 1 life, is cheating. Just so we're clear. But seriously, what the hell? I mean, look, the brain trust of Magic judges who've tried to tackle this problem over the years are vast and well-versed on the ins and outs of the impact of these rules. They've went back and forth on what we do here. I've just explained some of it. I mean, when both of you had to keep track of things, you'd often find yourself in the awkward position of having to remind them to kill you. Yeah, you need to put a counter on that Shrine of Burning Rage, whose counters, yes, just so happens to now equal my life total. But these days, you have the following situations. Your opponent attacks with Pyreheart Wolf. You wait. You then play Restoration Angel. You block. They say it can't. You say, you didn't announce your trigger, neener. You call a judge over, and you're going to win because they didn't say anything when they attacked. Now here's another. They activate the first ability of Jace, Architect of Thought. You attack and wait. Then you pick up a pin. Both of you write down a total. You confirm it is full value without the -1/-0 affecting it. They don't agree, but you've already went to damage, and they didn't announce the Jace trigger on attack. Now, what do these types of rulings do to a match? And I'm not even talking about whether they're correct or not, which they are, but what do they do to the demeanor of the match? Suddenly, I'm a bad guy because I'm following the rules. Both Owen Turtenwald and Melissa DeTora wrote some terrific articles about this, work whom I'm citing in various degrees on this show, but what I think it comes down to is this. Back when you both had to keep the triggers correct, you were the good guy. You were Superman. Fellow citizen, I see you forgot to get all of your value out of that Shrine of Burning Rage. Let me help you. Da, 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 da. But now, you're the Joker. You didn't say the magic word. You don't get the sweet bonus. Game over. I tricked you. Both of these methods, on their logistical grounds, have plenty of merit. But what I feel is that one of these methods makes you feel like a jerk, in Melissa's words, and that makes me want to play less competitive Magic. When I see my opponent forget to announce something, I feel terrible about taking advantage of it. I'd rather model myself and the trigger rules after Hall of Famer Kenji Samura, the man who could only stop a few of his opponents who were drawing a card without paying for their slaughter pack to lose the game instantly. Now this is the type of Magic I want to play, fair and equal, even if I have to remind people of triggers that may hurt me to do so. It's not a bit different than Magic Online, where all triggers everywhere are noted and shown, and ultimately I'm just as happy to point out triggers happening than I am miserable when I take full advantage of them forgetting. I'm not sure if anything will change in this regard in the future, but here's hoping. I'll be right back to talk about the Invitational and a sweet new aggro deck. The Magic Show is brought to you by StarCityGames.com, where you can now order Return to Ravnica boxes, cases, fat packs, and more with great prices, excellent customer service, and the world's largest Magic the Gathering singles inventory. StarCityGames.com is your one-stop shop for all your Magic the Gathering needs. Visit us on the web at StarCityGames.com and order Return to Ravnica today. So, we had ourselves an Invitational last weekend, taken down by the nicest guy on the whole friggin' planet, Mr. Reed Duke. Also, taken down by the slowest, grindiest deck ever, 4-color control. And by grindy, I'm not just talking about one Nephalia Drown Yard, I'm talking about two. We got Supreme Verdicts, Terminus, Zoria's Charm, hell, even a Rest in Peace shows up just for the free drinks. Match after match at the Invitational, Reed slowly but surely got command of each game and showed you just how friggin' awesome Sphinx's Revelation really is. Stroke of Genius plus Stream of Life equals win $15,000. I'll take it. But you know what card did some real work in his deck? Alchemist's Refuge. Now this got a little bit of hype and love back when it was spoiled, but since then mum has been the word, and casting end of turn Thragtusks and Supreme Verdicts while attackers were being declared sure did kick some serious ass in the coverage. Hell, one sick play, there was an Oblivion Ring removing Reed's Detention Sphere, but thanks to the Refuge, Reed could throw down his one-of Pithing Needle after the Oblivion Ring had named its target, naming Garrick Primal Hunter, about to return to the battlefield. Just sick. But this metagame, I mean, people, Chronic Flooding just won a GP. Before that, it was Black-Red Zombies winning 2 of them. 4-color control wins the Invitational. Black-Green Zombies is busting out all over the place. I mean, for example, check out this sweet Black-Green aggro deck I've been working on based on the work of Lucas Carlson, Brian Kibler, and Jamie Wakefield. Now, this deck probably has a ways to go. I mean, check out Kibler's version over here. He played at the Invitational. Now, first, Kibler's sideboard has to be leagues better than what I have. I mean, really. Secondly, Deadbridge Goliath is actually terrific, and I'd love to fit him right in. You gotta love the fatties when you're running the full boat of Fight Bears. But the real star of this show, Predator Ooze. Ooze the man, you ooze, you lose, because this ooze is ready to schmooze into the winner's circle. I mean, there are few things as unfair as using Uvenwald Tracker with Predator Ooze. Remember that fighting doesn't tap any of the involved creatures, and you can do it after the attack trigger of adding a +1/+1 counter happens. Needless to say, once the ooze is loose, cards like Rancor get involved, and it gets real scary. Now, for me, this deck went from nice junk rare to, oh my god, how do I stop the ooze real quick? Now, the format certainly has answers. There's Azorius Charm, there's Terminus, there's Unsummon, just to name a few. But when those aren't in the equation, that ooze is so sweet. You have to just play with it for yourself and see. It's an absolute ton of fun. But you know what's awesome? We're a whopping week away from Christmas. Christmas, people! And we're still talking about awesome new aggro decks, seeing new control decks pop up out of nowhere. Those pesky reanimator contraptions are still stealing GPs like snatching pies out of windowsills. Quite simply, it has been an incredibly long time since Standard has not been solved at this point. Usually we're bemoaning our terrible metagame, calling for bans, and lamenting that if only we had the next set already, our woes would end. Well, not this time. This time we've got ourselves a wonderfully healthy meta with nothing dominating like a Valakut or any crazy Jay Stoneforge shenanigans. All I can say is kudos to WotC R&D for a sweet environment. Just when we thought Thragtusk was going to take over everything, it only takes up, big chunk. I mean, the rest of it's filled with awesome. So until next time, Magic players, this is Evan Irwin, tapping the cards so you don't have to.
fatties.